afternoon. Can you guys all hear me okay? All right. My name is Brandon Sharp, or Cameron Sharp. This is Brandon Sharp, or Cameron Sharp. We're Aimee's cousins, and we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate everybody being here today. Those of you that have come out of town, it's a sorrowful day to be here. We really appreciate the support that you guys give. It's fun to come and see all the memories of Aimee and celebrate her life. We do appreciate everybody coming. We're going to start with the obituary. We're going to go through that, and then we're going to bring up some guest speakers. And I just want to again say thank you, everybody, for coming. Brandon, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron. This was the obituary written by Aimee's mom, Cynthia. Aimee N. Reid, 1973 to 2021. My beautiful daughter, my best friend in the world, died September 17th, 2021, after a very long illness and complications of kidney disease. She grew up in Sandy, Utah, graduated from Cottonwood High School, and attended the University of Utah. While pursuing her degree in health, she became a doula and certified lactation and childbirth educator. She could only practice a few years until her health worsened. When Aimee was younger, she was a model and loved singing as well as acting. She was a member of the Chalk Circle Singers when she was very young. She attended the University of Utah Theater School for Youth for 3 years. This was one of the happiest times of her life. She acted in many plays, some at the Health Center Theater, a few commercials, and a movie for Bonneville Productions. Aimee was a feisty, funny, and had a photographic memory. She was extremely confident. She remembered everybody's name as well as their story. She felt deeply and sad for people, lonely people, and sick people. She was kind and wanted to hear about their problems. She hated bigotry, prejudice, and racism. She loved fishing and went with her grandma Reid many times to Deer Creek, as well as Ponca City. She loved to sing and sang the Lord's Prayer with her grandma Maggie every night. She won Miss Utah Achievement for her scholastic and volunteer achievements. She was a hospice volunteer for many years. Some of the many places she volunteered are Teen Mother Child Program at the U of U, Planned Parenthood, AIDS Foundation, Sandy Fire, Health South, Muscular Dystrophy Association. She spoke at a National Arthritis Foundation in Florida and led volunteering for the 2002 Olympics and Paralympics. She spoke to the U of U physical therapy students about living with rheumatoid arthritis. Aimee was a doll collector and loved crafts. She was an avid reader and loved poetry. She was very interested and active in politics. She adored babies and would love to have had one. Her special hero was the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Aimee is survived by her mother, Cynthia Reid, grandmother, Betty Jo Stevens, who we refer to as Maggie, numerous aunts, uncles, cousins, half-brothers, and sisters, her 2 cats, Maddie and Inzy, and her special dog, Gracie May, who will miss her terribly. Preceded in death by her father, Michael Scott Reid, half-brother Marcus Reid, grandfather Garth Reid, grandmother Naomi Reid, grandfather Louis L. Kearns, uncle Rory Tien Reid, cousin TJ Reid, nephew Rob Dorado, and her beloved cat Zoe. Special thanks to her grandma Maggie and her aunt Lene Sharp. Without these two, I could have never cared for Aimee at home all these years. Also special thanks to her twin cousin and Dusty Sharp for helping me store and lift her dialysis bag. Thanks to the doctors that took care of Aimee through the years, in particular Patrick Nibby and Scott Stevens. Thanks to all the nurses that took care of Aimee and became her friend, LDS West 8 and IMC 6 and 9th floor nurses. Also thanks to home health nurses Hillary and Aaron, and one special respiratory therapist, Nate Stoddard. Last but not least, thanks to Ade Atula and his family, and Roxanne McCabe for being her loving and loyal friends for most of her life. Celebration of her life will be Tuesday, September 28th at 1 p.m. at Stark's Funeral Parlor here. Online condolences can be offered to the family at www.starksfuneral.com. In lieu of flowers, please donate to the Arthritis Foundation, National Kidney Foundation, of Utah and Idaho, or Best Friends Animal Society in her name.
First, we'll start with the prayer and poem, which will be done by the chaplain.
I am Rosemary Barron, chaplain of the palliative care team at Intermountain Medical Center. And I came to know Aimee when our palliative care team was consulted on her case a few years ago. And over the past few years, I have visited Aimee on numerous occasions, probably too many to count. Yes, we did pray together, but not basing our conversation on any religion. We found that we had an uncommon bond with poetry. Each time I visited with Aimee, I brought a copy of a new poem for her, often the poems of Mary Oliver. Cynthia asked if I would share one with you today, and so this is The Song of the Builders by Mary Oliver. On a summer morning, I sat down on a hillside to think about God, a worthy pastime. Near me, I saw a cricket. It was moving the grains of the hillside this way and that way. How great was its energy, how humble its effort. Let us hope it will always be like this, each of us going on in our inexplicable ways, building the universe. To me, Aimee's inexplicable way of building the universe was being positive with the staff at Intermountain Hospital and thanking them continually for their service and for their help. Despite the fact that she had been bedridden for many years, I never heard her once complain. She told me that she looked forward to our visits because I was the only one who came not to talk about any medical issues with her. So this poem will always be a reminder to me, and I hope to you, of Aimee's inexplicable ways of building the universe with great humility, as she always had. Cynthia asked me to offer a prayer, so let us pray. Loving and gracious God, we thank you for the gift of Aimee, for the goodness and the beauty she brought to our world despite the trials and illness of her life. We ask that she be at peace in this grand immensity of eternity. We thank you for all, particularly Cynthia, who grieve Aimee's loss. May we all find comfort and consolation. We thank you for those who have cared for Aimee in these years, especially the medical caregivers. For the beauty of this world, particularly of this fall season, we give thanks and praise to you, dear God. And for dear Aimee, may she rest in peace. Amen.
Thank you, Rosemary. We'll now hear from Aimee's mother, Cynthia Reid, who we affectionately call Aunt C.
Thank you all for being here. You can all help me get through this, because I'm doing that for Aimee. Please keep your masks on and be careful. It would be awful to have any of you get sick today from this. Aimee and I were extremely close. We were like an old married couple. We said the same thing at the same time. We finished each other's sentences and then would laugh. We went through more than you could ever imagine. It's a very hard, lonely thing to be ill. It is very isolating. However, we both realized how lucky we were to live here in the United States, to be born where we have great medical care available. So why should we complain? Maybe she could have been born in Haiti or some war-torn country where there was no education, no food, no medical care. Aimee was loving and feisty. Those of you that knew her very well knew that. You didn't cross her. She had no problem telling people what was up. She never seemed to get in trouble for it either. She was so smart. When she was 10 months old, she could walk and whistle. One day we heard this coming from the crib, and we're like, who is that? And it was Aimee. This is a funny story. When she was about 3 or 4, my mom and I were at ZCMI, for those old enough to know about ZCMI, looking for clothes. Suddenly, she was not to be found. We looked and called and started to panic. I'm about ready to report a kidnapped child. And suddenly, there she was. She appeared from the dressing room with a bunch of clothes. And we're like, well, where were you? Well, I was trying on clothes. What do you think? Another story, when she was about 3, she had gone to the Asian festival with my mom and a friend downtown. They had a string of about 20 beautiful Japanese women dancing in a row, and she said, I can do that. So, here's this little 3-year-old blonde girl dancing in the middle of all these beautiful Asian dancers downtown. When she was 5, she went to primary with her cousins. It was Christmas time, and the teacher asked if any of the children knew the Christmas story. Well, Aimee did with details. She told about Mary riding on the donkey, how she went into labor, her water broke, etc. The teacher called Lene and said, who is that kid? One of my favorite stories was when she was in junior high, and it was St. Patrick's Day. Well, back then you weren't allowed to have any color in your hair. But she had about 3 strands of green in her long blonde hair. So I got a call at work downtown. They said she was suspended. And I said, why? And they said, because she has green in her hair. And I said, so what? It's St. Patrick's Day. It doesn't matter, Mrs. Reid. I said, if you think I'm going to come downtown and come and get her for that, you're mistaken. So you can just have her walk home and have her call me when she gets there. So about an hour later, she calls me and she goes, Mom, I hope you won't be mad, but I did something. I said, what? Well, I called the news. I said, oh, I'm so proud of you, so proud of you. So they did a cute little story about this little leprechaun with the 3 little strands of green in her hair and how she got suspended. She loved fishing and camping, especially with Grandma Reid. She liked to go to Ponca City and Deer Creek. Now, Ponca City was a favorite spot. What the real name of that lake is, I have no idea. It was on an Indian reservation, clear up a dirt road. Fish and Game Warden would hide behind bushes with binoculars to see if you had your fishing license. And she had a lot of fun there with Grandma Reid and her great-grandma, Waterman. She was so smart. She was some weird geography savant. she could picture the map of the world in her mind. I say, well, Aimee, where's Syria? She'd be like, well, just picture it in your mind. You know, Turkey to the north, Jordan to the south. Can't you picture that? No, I can't. She never had to study. She never had to prepare for a speech. I'd say, don't you need to rehearse your talk? No. She loved babies and loved her job for as long as she could do it. She worked for hospice and loved it, and you have to be a special person for that. When she worked for Planned Parenthood, she'd go once a month to the DT and youth services with her little kit to teach the preteens about STDs. She loved it. She never complained. She might say, I don't feel good, but she never said, woe is me. The last 15 years of her life were very difficult. She couldn't do much out of her bed, but she kept busy reading, etc. She had been on a ventilator 4 or 5 times at this point and always got better, but not this time. Her little body was just too weak. It was an honor to be her mom, to take care of her, to know such a wonderful person. In closing, I'd like to thank Aimee for babysitting her when she was little and helping out and visiting her. And a special thanks to my mom, Grandma Maggie, who helped me take care of Aimee at her house so that I could have the time to run errands. She required 24-hour care, and we could never have kept her out of a place without my mom. Thanks to the twins and Dusty for helping with odd jobs that needed to be done. Dusty was her twin, even though he was a cousin. Lastly, Ade, Aimee loved you, your mom, your dad, your sisters very much. Roxanne, you and Aimee met when you were teenagers and have been good friends ever since, and she loved you. Today we're singing the Lord's Prayer in honor of my mom because she and Aimee sang it every night before bed. And the last song is a lullaby I used to sing to her when she was a baby. And close your eyes. Thank you.
Next speaker, would like to invite up Olga Gray, who's a friend of Aimee's.
I'm going to be the only one who shows up at a funeral with a stuffed animal friend. So I'm Olga. I had a little bit of a hard time writing this, trying to figure out what to say. It's mostly a struggle for me to figure out the perfect words to express how my heart feels. Honestly, I procrastinated until the last minute with this. I just didn't really know what to say. I'm mostly just going to briefly share who she was to me. So my story with Aimee begins with an ambulance, my ambulance, which is where I first met her. I was her paramedic. As many of you know, she had ongoing health problems that left her bed confined, unable to even sit up. She was prone to chronic infections, often left her fighting for her life in the ICU. Multiple intubations, feeding tubes, PICC line failures, chronic pain and nausea, regular visits to the hospital. This is what brought us together. But it was getting to know her, talking during our rides, that created a bond between us. My partner, Denny, who's here today, the two of us became one of the crews that regularly took her, specifically requested by Cynthia. So I got to know her well throughout the years. I think I first met her maybe in 2007. Initially, we just spoke of the medical problems, which was when I first learned that Aimee was apparently quite stubborn and wouldn't go down without a fight. Hearing about all she'd gone through, seeing all she was still going through, I don't know how she was so strong. I don't know how she did it for so many years. Once we crossed the barrier between paramedic and patient and became friends, I'd receive a text from Cynthia that she was back in the hospital, intubated, fighting another infection. I was kind of prepared myself when these texts came that they might be the end, but no, she just found some more hidden strength and came back once again. I remember visiting her in the hospital once and laughing at a doctor who had clearly not read her chart whatsoever, and told her that if she got intubated, she was never going to be able to breathe on her own again, and she had just barely come out of the ICU and had been intubated. So the more we talked and got to know each other, the more I realized that Aimee was a kindred spirit. We had a lot in common with similar passions and hopes and dreams. One thing we really connected on was travel. Aimee dreamed of traveling, of seeing the world. When she learned I was going to Ghana for the first time, she was so excited. She literally told me, she told me that she'd always felt a connection with Africa. And she literally sent me with a shopping list of things to buy for her and bring home, pictures to take, orders to hold all the babies and play with all the precious little children. This was also around the time when I first met Artie, who, as it turned out, would be my future traveling companion. As you can see, Artie is a stuffed aardvark, and Aimee had recently gotten him during one of her ICU stays just before I left for Ghana. Being the imaginative child I apparently am, I envisioned Artie following the footsteps of the traveling gnome, and when I suggested that Aimee send Artie along with me, she willingly did, so he could visit Africa for her. On that first trip, Artie explored remote villages, went on safari where he saw wild elephants and baboons, held a newborn baby and was loved on by children, and hung out at the beach. Since then, Artie has literally traveled the world, backpacking, camping, hiking, road trips, flying to India and Peru and Europe and within the US. Less than a week actually before Aimee died, he had just returned from Costa Rica. He's seen places that she couldn't see, had experiences she couldn't have, and gone on adventures she couldn't go on. But now she can. So while I will miss Aimee, I do believe that she's finally able to live the life she had dreamed of. I had once told her that when she could be in a wheelchair or had more mobility, we could travel together and have some adventures. And I think we can now, though it's not in a way either of us had imagined. So run free, Aimee. Fly high. Travel the world. Explore new places. Hug those babies. Play with those precious children. Live. And I promise I'll continue my travels with you in my heart and Artie by my side.
Thank you, Olga. We'll now hear the song, the Lord's Prayer. We would now like to hear from Christina William, a friend of Amy's. Chrisanta. Sorry. My bad. I apologize.
Hi. Okay, speaking in front of people is not my thing. I probably wouldn't even do it for my own husband or my child. But I will do it for Cynthia and Aimee. And I don't care how you say my name, I know it's weird. Cynthia, Aimee, and I have been friends for 25 years. Cynthia and I worked for the Department of Human Services. Cynthia was in IT and I was in Human Resources. Our offices were just in opposite corners of the building over there on North Temple and 2nd West. I remember the first time I saw Cynthia, I thought she had the most beautiful curls and red hair, and she was always so kind to me. A group of us started walking together on our breaks, and we soon learned that we had much in common, including our salt and pepper mini schnauzers, and we both had a child with serious health issues, except my child was 7 at the time and hers was 22, which at that time I was 24, just 18 months older than Aimee. It wasn't long before I was able to meet Aimee. I think the first time was when Cynthia's lawnmower wasn't working, so my husband, my son Zach, and I all went to her home to try to get it working, and this is one of those moments where I need Aimee's excellent memory and recall, because I don't know if we were successful. I hope we were. Maybe Mitch knows. But I briefly met Aimee that night as she was headed out the door and on her way to do something fun and wonderful, like any normal 22-year-old. I remember she was stunning. Had the most beautiful long blonde hair and porcelain white skin, sprinkled with freckles, the cutest freckles. And at that time, her health issues, while her health issues were significant, they didn't keep her from doing and accomplishing all that she wanted to do. She had big plans and she was going to make them happen. I would come to know that Aimee's physical beauty was not the best part of her. She was clever and brilliant, had a giant heart, and was kind to everyone. It didn't matter if you were the valet, the pharmacy tech, the janitor, or the waiter. She was kind to everyone she crossed paths with, and if you were lucky enough to get to know her, she would also become your dear friend. When my daughter Brittany was born, Cynthia and Aimee were among the first people to meet her, and they each held her until their arms hurt. They loved both of my children as if they were their own family members, and were always encouraging them to follow their dreams and cheering them on from afar, no matter what it was. I mean, they were both at my son was a Make-A-Wish kid, and they were both there at his Make-A-Wish reveal. Aimee even filmed it for us. My kids raced motocross, and they were always just so excited to hear about their races and how and any of their accomplishments. My daughter Brittany was in musical theater in high school, and that was Aimee's forte. She always had advice and cheered her on through that. When my son moved to Hollywood to become an actor, Aimee and Cynthia were their biggest cheerleaders and always wanted to know everything that was going on with them and in our lives. We spent many hours together, and no matter what it was we were doing, we always had the best time, and we spent most of that time laughing until our bellies hurt. Cynthia was a most dedicated mom to Aimee. I don't know how she did all that she was able to do as a single mom and work full-time. I'm still amazed by that. When Aimee's health declined and she became homebound and bedridden, she often worried about her mom and what would become of her should something happen to her mom. I would tell her not to worry, Aimee. I don't think anything's gonna happen to your mom. She's very careful. But if something does, Mitch and I will adopt you and bring you home to live with us. Plus, you'll have the same exact health insurance that you do now, so it'll be okay. We'll make it work. And I know that Aimee always worried about what would happen to Cynthia should anything happen to her. You know, that was also a big worry. Aimee's grandma, Madge, was also key to keeping Aimee here with us for as long as she was. And I know there were many exhaustion-filled days, filled with worry and many sleepless nights. But Cynthia and Madge kept going and did all they could for Aimee and took the most excellent care of her. Through it all, Aimee never complained. She had a positive outlook and was always looking forward to what tomorrow might bring. One memory I have of Aimee is my husband, Mitch, my daughter Brittany, Cynthia and I were all visiting with them, and Aimee had just taken her meds and was dozing off, but we just kept talking. And Aimee, well, we thought she was asleep, and she would just interject and kind of just talk, you know, join the conversation, and hadn't missed a beat. She had been alert through all of it. It was just incredible. Again, with her photographic mind, she didn't miss anything. And I used to be amazed at the wild and crazy experiences that would happen to them. Like, even if I told, I mean, I don't have time to tell you all of it, but even if I did, you wouldn't believe me. And I used to tell them that they should write a screenplay, they could make a movie out of their lives, and they would become extremely wealthy because their lives were crazy. You just couldn't imagine all of the experiences that they encountered, and through it all, they just kept going. In closing, I will miss my friend Aimee very much, and know she suffers no more. She and her mom shared a special bond, and I know Aimee will always, always be near her and watch over her mother. It is my prayer that Cynthia feels her love and presence daily and her guidance. And I want Cynthia to know that while we may leave our physical bodies, the love never ends, and those connections will remain throughout the eternities. And I've heard it said, when someone close to you passes on, there is an angel in heaven that knows your name. And, you know, we all can use the extra help from our angels. And I hope I can be half the mom to my children that Cynthia was to Aimee. And you know, Aimee had many, many passions, and she loved with her whole heart and so deeply. And I believe that is her legacy. And I want to continue my life in remembrance of that, and hope that I can be as good of a friend and as kind to others as Aimee was to everyone that crossed her path.
Thank you for that. Next, we'll listen to the song "You Can Close Your Eyes" by James Taylor. Our next speaker is Dustin Sharp.
I'm not going to say very much. Aimee was my like sister, cousin, twin, whatever you want to call it. I could feel her often in dark times in my life with me, and I know she'll be with me now as well. Yeah, as kids, we skipped preschool together because I don't even remember why, but we got to hang out, and she was my kissing cousin. Oh, it's bittersweet. She's free. want to say, Aimee, I love you. I only miss you a little bit because I know you're going to be here. That's all I can do. Thank you.
Don't know what's making me cry, Dusty or the song. Thanks, Dusty. So I just wanted to, me and Cameron would just like to conclude, share a couple memories of our own, of our time with Aimee. It's hard to see her go through what she's been through the last 15 years, knowing what we've seen and what we've had to grow up with being around her. Cameron and I just remember quite a bit going over to the house with her and C, and they always took care of us and let us kind of do whatever we want. They'd always go to the store and let us pick out whatever we want to eat. I remember always going all $1 and getting everything. That was the best part, was just going all $1 and getting whatever dollar toys I wanted. And Aunt C let me get them all, and Aimee would play with them with us. So it was very difficult to have, very beautiful to have those memories, very difficult to see the deterioration of her life as she got older and went through her illness. But I'll tell you one thing I will take away from Aimee's life is to have that fortitude and that kind of strength, I think is just a reminder to me, and I think it should be to all of us. If Aimee can do that, we can all do that, and we can fight the fights and the battles and not give up and go as long as possible. And that's one thing I'll keep in my heart, knowing Aimee and seeing what she's been through. Can't say I'm happy she's not with us anymore, but I do believe she's in a better place, and she's finding the happiness there. But if we could all just remember that when times are tough, if we can remember Aimee, I think we can get through just about anything, if Aimee can as well. So once again, I do appreciate everybody coming, and Cameron would like to share some last words as well.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and supporting the family and Aunt C and Aimee. So Aimee introduced me to Velveeta mac and cheese back when I was a boy. To kind of add to what Brandon said, Brandon and I were very naughty boys. We mellowed out quite a bit, but not for a long time. And we give Mom such a hard time that I think we did it on purpose. So she would then send us over to Aunt C and Aimee's house, who would always take us in. And then we were little angels at your house. But a really fond memory I have is just being little naughty twins. They call us Cammy and Branny and still call us that today. It warms our heart. It's an honor. But yeah, we'd go over and spend time with Aunt C and Aimee. She had a pet turtle that was really fun that would get lost, and they'd take us to, it was Jobber Odd Lots back then, Brand, but it's like a dollar store, but you could see we'd spend $5 and we felt like she spent $100 and just had a good time, and always had fun going over there, staying up late and enjoying the time, and learned a lot from Aimee. It's been a pleasure serving you guys through this hard time, and just want you to know that I love you and I'm always here for you. But thanks everybody for coming and showing your support. Oh yes, make sure you sign the book. If you came in this store over here, there's a book over there you can sign and grab a program if you haven't already. But feel free to stick around and linger. Thank you, everybody. This will conclude the meeting, so thank you.
I know. He's like, wait till she's a toddler at church. Yeah. That's okay.
already filmed my sticker photos. Oh, okay. These are